Hey everyone. A while ago, I just finished watching the first episode of Power Rangers Time Force, Force from the Future Part 1. Time Force is one of my favorite seasons. I want to talk a little bit about when I was younger. I was big into Power Rangers when I was really little, like under 5. I was big into Mighty Morphin. And my grandmother was taping some of the episodes off TV for me, which was awesome because I was able to see so many of the episodes and but then, after Mighty Morphin, we kind of stopped taping episodes. I don't know why. I was still watching the show, but I don't know. Maybe we just didn't have tapes available or something. So, yeah, Zeo, I didn't have a whole lot of that. Not much of Turbo, not much of In Space. Although I did watch those seasons. In Space is where I kind of dropped off watching because the previous year I'd started school, and so I wasn't, at home every day to see the episodes as they aired weekly. And then, yeah, In Space, I just didn't really catch it. Lost Galaxy, I do remember getting into. And Time Force really reminds me a lot of Lost Galaxy, the first episode anyway. They're both very similar in that there barely any Rangers actually show up. Like in Lost Galaxy, I'm trying to remember, do any Rangers show up in the first episode of Lost Galaxy? I'm trying to remember. I don't think anybody does. In the first episode of Time Force, the only character, the only Ranger that shows up is the Red Ranger, Alex. Spoilers: he dies at the end, maybe. So yeah, back to when I was a kid. When Time Force started, or no, actually it was the previous year for Lightspeed. The show started airing weekday afternoons after school, so I was able to start seeing it every day again. I'd come home from school, and I remember, I can't remember what it was. I think in second grade it was Digimon would come on right before I got home. My grandmother would tape it for me, and then on TV there'd be Big Guy and Rusty and Transformers Beast Wars. I can't remember what else used to be on. Metabots, I think. Anyway, so yeah, it that was the routine for a while. Those years in elementary school when I would come home from school, uh, Digimon would have just ended, and then Power Rangers comes on later. And I was able to come home and watch it. So Lightspeed and Time Force, I was able to see a lot of. Lightspeed, I really liked it, but as a kid, as much as I liked it, it didn't really hit me as my favorite show ever. I just was able to watch it all, and I really enjoyed it. Then when Time Force came on, this one really did hit me. I really did love it, and as a kid, I wasn't really sure what about it I liked so much. I was I had some tapes of it, and I would watch the tapes, and I couldn't really figure out why do I like this one so much more than the other ones. What speaks to me so much about this? And I think it was partially because at the time Power Rangers had a weird thing where, or well, it's not a weird thing. It's a thing I wish more shows would do that lasted a long time like this. Oh, something was falling down over there. I the show was growing up with its own audience. It's very interesting. If you go back to Mighty Morphin, watch that first episode of Mighty Morphin Day of the Dumpster, and then watch the first episode of Time Force. It's pretty jarring, but if you were to pick out a few select episodes from each season and watch them in order, you can see a slow progression of the stories are slightly maturing. They're getting so they're not really stupid sitcom-y stories. They're more serious, but they're still stories that can be enjoyed by a very little kid, and they be able to comprehend everything, know the characters, understand exactly what's going on. It's not going to be really confusing, but at the same time, it's not really dumb for adults the current series is. As much as I like Dino Fury, I can't imagine, if I wasn't already a Power Ranger fan, I probably wouldn't like Dino Fury. I'd watch it and be like, wow, this is really dumb and awful. I don't like it. So, anyway, on to the actual episode. The episode, let's see, synopsis. There's a bunch of these policemen. Oh, yeah, there's a narrator at the beginning who says 1,000 years in the future. And so we know right from the start this is the future, although I don't know if they needed to tell us that. I think they probably could have, I don't know, let us figure it out for ourselves, but I don't know, maybe it's because there's not that much that's too out there. Power Rangers as a series, they've already had a giant space colony ship go to another galaxy, land on another planet, or crash on another planet, and it looks actually quite a bit more advanced than anything in Time Force, but whatever. Um, yeah, there's these police. They're surrounding a building. There's this weird dude inside. He's got a mask covering half his face. He's got stringy, messed up long hair. He's got like some scars coming out from behind the partial mask he wears. He's got scars all over one arm. You don't know what his deal is. He's holding this metal thing. He places it down. He goes over to this metal arc thing, whatever, and he yells, "If I can't rule the future, was it? If I can't rule the present, I'll just rule the past." I love that. I love the way he growls that line, and then just then the Red Ranger steps in. Then there's a little scuffle there. There's an explosion. Then the Red Ranger comes out with this dude Ransik chained up. They've captured him. He's arrested. Then this one girl, Jen, runs over, hugs Alex, the Red Ranger dude, and then we have Ransik in court, and it looks like an actual courtroom, which surprises me. Power Rangers was able to get like into a real courtroom. That's one of the weird things with like the old like original Saban era seasons is sometimes the locations are like they're very unique locations that they would never use again. They're like just used for one instance. I kind of miss them doing that. Like in the Disney seasons, they usually stuck to the same places or to sets, and now it's like even more like sterilized, where it's they only have these few places they can go, and they like never go anywhere different. But anyway, back to Time Force. Oh yeah, in the courtroom, in the background, there's a person with purple hair, and it looks like Astronema's hair. And then there's also an Aquitian alien in the background, and I thought that was kind of a neat little thing, although they don't really draw a lot of attention to it. Like they're just people in the background, but still, most of the background people that you can get a good look at, they're just people. I'm wondering why they didn't put a couple of aliens in the background or something. Like they have costumes, they have makeup people. Like it doesn't take much to make an alien. Just put a wig on, like put blue face paint on or something. Like SPD did that. I didn't like some of the alien designs in SPD, but at least they tried. Anyway, back to Time Force. Ransik is found guilty. He's being taken away in this transport. There was this weird woman in black at the courtroom who gave Ransik a weird look. And so anyway, they're going along in the transport, and there's a scene inside the transport. Let's see, Ransik is sitting across from Jen, and he starts like chuckling to himself. I wouldn't be laughing if I had your fate. My, was it, or your future, whatever. And he goes, "My dear, the future is full of surprises." And then suddenly the car comes to a jerking stop, and he starts laughing. And then she calls up front, "What's going on? There's someone laying on the road." And they go over, they check who it is. It's that woman in black from the courtroom. And then they turn around like idiots, and then her fingernails turn into big like X-23 claw blades. Slash! And then Jen tells Lucas, who's driving, "Lucas, go!" And he drives right around her. She just stands there. Then suddenly there's missiles shooting at him, and then the car flips over. Ransik escapes. Nadira, who's his daughter, the girl in black with the pink hair, she runs over, and it's really weird. At the courtroom, she's like really ominous, and she seems threatening. When she attacks the others with the claws, it's really fierce. But then here, she just skips over to Ransik and goes, "Daddy, I need a new dress. The other one got dirty laying on the road." And then, like, Ransik talks, like, really, like, suddenly his voice changes. Like, he's not growly. He's not, like, a pontificating villain. He's like, "Oh, my dear, we'll get you whatever you want." And suddenly he sounds a little bit more like a normal person. And that's something I really liked in Time Force, was just the relationship of the villains, especially Ransik and Nadira. And then there's another villain who shows up, Frax, this golden robot, this hulking gold robot with a cape. And his face with the thing on the back, like that comes up over his head, I don't know what you would call it. He reminds me a lot of Crow from Mystery Science Theater 3000. He looks so much like Crow. I'm sure there must have been inspiration, and it made me wonder, like, did Japan get anything of Mystery Science Theater over there? Like, I've always wondered, like, other countries, did they get Mystery Science Theater? Like, how would they adapt it? Would they have subtitles? would they have two sets of subtitles, like subtitles for the movie and subtitles for the characters watching the movie? Or would they dub it or something? I know in Russia there was like a fan film or something of Mystery Science Theater where they like recreated the style almost exactly. So I don't know. Whatever. Back to the episode. They're walking off. Jen tries to follow them, but then she collapses, and then they escape. Later on, Jen is conscious. The others are conscious. She contacts what's his name? I don't remember his name. The superior officer, and she tells him that they lost Rancic, and he gets all mad at him and says, "You're relieved of duty," which I think was kind of unfair because like they didn't know they were gonna get ambushed by bad guys. So anyway, I guess they just mope around for a bit. Meanwhile, what's going on? Rancic hijacks a something or other, and he's let's see. Oh yeah, he goes to this Time Force facility somewhere to activate his time machine, and then let's see. Alex, the Red Ranger from earlier, is sent to apprehend him. So he goes to do that, and oh, at the Time Force facility, we get to see these couple of I guess they're mutants. Or maybe they're monsters. Who knows? Maybe they're still monsters in the future. There's this Joker-looking guy with a green mohawk and a red thing. He's put into this tube, and then he's shrunk down into a toy, which looks really cool. I want one. I remember as a kid being really disappointed, seeing like every episode they turn the bad guy into a toy, and then we never got any of the toys. That ticked me off. I really liked monster toys, and we didn't get any. Or, well, we got Rancic, Frax, and I don't think we got anybody else. Not even Gluto. So, anyway, speaking of Gluto, he's the next guy he's brought in, and he's going to be put into this tube to be put into cryogenic suspension, which turns you into a toy, then you're put into a tube and put in a freezer. Alright. So, anyway, he's brought in, and just then Nadira jumps in, she shoots a bunch of the guys, and, are they dead? That was one of the other things that was, like, it just went right over my head as a kid. Like, because as a kid I was used to watching Star Wars and, like, action movies, sci-fi movies, and stuff like that. And there's, like, characters getting shot left and right. Like, stormtroopers in Star Wars, they don't mean anything. Like, you just shoot them and they fall, and that's that. And it's just a thing. But, like, as an adult, I'm watching it and thinking, huh, that's kind of weird that they actually got away with these guys. Yeah, they're probably dead. And so anyway, Gluto, she lets Gluto out of the thing, even though she finds him disgusting, apparently. Okay, that was another, like, funny little thing, was that Gluto is kind of friendly with the villains, even if the other villains don't really like him that much, and Nadira in particular just finds him gross. So then, let's see, Rancic is, oh, where was he going? Oh yeah, he's about to activate the time thing, and he sees on the security camera Alex is on top of the building, and he's like, I'm going to go fight him because, he just wants to fight Alex one more time. So he goes up to the top. Him and Alex get into a big fight, and, oh yeah, back at the, where the others are, where Jen and her team are, let's see, there was a little bit of, back and forth earlier. Lucas, the driver, he goes up to Trip, the green-haired alien dude with a gem on his head. Why didn't you tell us this was going to happen? And how was it? He says, I thought you Zybrians could read minds, and Trip says, I can't read every thought. Was it? I can't remember how he put it. It's like once in a while type of thing or something. But anyway, that's his, like, alien thing, is the gem on his head allows him to be able to, like, see visions of the future, or read minds, or sense presences, or something. So anyway, back there, he is actually sensing Rancic at the Time Force facility. So now Jen and the others, they know where he is, and they decide they're going to go find him. And there's a funny little bit where they're like, we don't have a vehicle, and then a car drives by, they stop the car, and they're like, can we have the car, and commandeer it, whatever. And the guy's like, screw you, and I'm sure he would have flipped him off if he was allowed. And then Katie walks over, Katie, this big black girl, and she just picks him up and vroom, right over her head. Tosses him right over her head. And I remember as a kid thinking, whoa, what the... And I thought there was going to be some, like, follow-up to how she could do that, because they're not Rangers yet, as far as I know. Like, I assume they were, because they're a team of characters in a Power Rangers show. but I wasn't quite sure like what exactly was going on. I remember when I first saw this that stood out to me. So anyway, they get into the car, except for Trip. He goes over to the guy she just threw on the ground. Sorry, we'll get you a new one. Uh-huh. So then they get in the car, they get to the facility, they are able to get up just as Rancic kills Alex. Oh, and this is a weird thing Rancic can do. He can pull bones out of his body and turn them into weapons. That was weird. I remember that was another thing as a kid that really stood out to me. Like when he slams his hand down on his knee and he like makes this really painful sounding noise and pulls a bone sword out of his leg. That was unique. I'm wondering if that was a thing that came from any of the Sentai. Like, is that an ability any of the Sentai villains had? I don't remember it. Or is that like a totally original thing? Because if it is a totally original thing, then that's a pretty cool power. It's a pretty unique power. I like it. I'm glad they came up with something like that. So anyway, he slashes Alex, and Alex falls down and blows up in a huge explosion like a monster. And this is getting towards the end of the episode. So this is like a bizarre inverse of a normal episode where the Rangers are fighting a monster, and at the end they're in the Megazord slashes the monster, and the monster falls down, boom, he blows up. Except here it's a Ranger. The only Ranger in the episode. The villains are like the main focus of the episode. Jen and her team, like aside from Jen herself, they don't get a whole lot of focus. There's a little bit of, we learn their names, we learn little bits about them and stuff they do, but that's about it. We don't learn too much about them. We know a lot more about the villains and like what their whole deal is, but not quite everything yet. So anyway, Rancic teleports away, which was a weird thing. I didn't know he could teleport. Whatever. And anyway, Alex is dying. He gives Jen his morpher and asks her to catch Rancic. She says yes. They go to pursue Rancic, and they don't know where he went. They go and they hijack a time machine. They shoot off to the past in the time machine, and then that's where the episode ends, and that was a really cool episode. I love Time Force. I love the characters, I love the episodes, I love the villains, I love like the plots. I love everything about Time Force. It's a really great season, one of the best. It's one of the only seasons where like every episode is a good one. There's not like a single bad episode, or at least not from what I remember. That's one of the reasons I want to do this rewatch, because like I'm really wondering, like, were there any weaker episodes of Time Force? Like I can remember a few weaker episodes, but even the weak episodes I remember really liking. So yeah, this will be a fun season to go through again. Let's see, trying to think of anything more to, like, I couldn't really think of anything like to analyze in the episode except for like how it's interesting that it seems like the inverse of a normal Power Ranger episode, with the villains being like the protagonist kind of the show, and the Rangers being the antagonist. Huh. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, looking forward to watching the next one. Hope you enjoyed this. See ya.